Race number 8 of the 3rd season of the Coors Light Truck Series rolls back into Daytona. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here as we have 3 races remaining until we would determine the 8 drivers that will battle it out for this season's Coors Light Truck Series Championship. But this race weekend a little bit different than we planned. We are here back at the track that started off the season, Daytona, but we are running the road course configuration this entire race weekend. Now, the reason that I'm saying that this is not the weekend we planned, the whole weekend got a kind of extreme makeover. We were supposed to run the debuting dirt track of Vancouver for the trucks and the Hershey's Cup Series drivers this weekend. That didn't pan out. Testing was horrible. It was a wreckfest race with both mods. Scrapped that idea. And then the Pizza Hut X Series drivers were supposed to run their endurance race at open roads, but every time we tried to record that race, the game would crash right in the middle of it. So all 3 series going to be doing road course racing here today and in the upcoming 2 days at the Daytona road course. Now, what makes this especially interesting for the Truck Series drivers is they're racing here today at Daytona, and in 2 weeks' time, they're racing at another road course, Watkins Glen. 2 of the last 3 races of the season for the truck drivers taking places at road courses. So you got to think that's going to play into the strengths of drivers that are good at the winding road courses, turning right as well as left. Be 20 laps of racing here today for the Truck Series drivers. Daniel Bouchard lines up on the pole position, and alongside of him, a guy who won here at Daytona when we ran the Speedway configuration, and that is Andrew Millers. And obviously, like I've said, a lot of these drivers that are former winners want to get a second win to confirm themselves a spot in the chase.
Drivers, start your engines!
So with that being said, you got some other drivers that are starting close to the front here that are former winners as well. You've got C Cucalon R, Michigan winner. He's lining up 3rd, and not too far back is H Alonso, our winner from Springfield, rolling off from 9th place. As the cars will make their way through the dog leg here on the back straightaway, one of the toughest parts of this road course. Let's give you your top 10 the points coming into this race, presented by Blame Shelley Insurance. Tony Green is your points leader, 2 points in hand over Sebastian Cucalon. Andrew Rich currently in 3rd, T Handley 4th, Michael Haas in 5th. Then it's JJ Roberts, Preston Plourd, H Sanchez, Charlie Buxton, and Alex Tanker. That is your top 10. Only 3 of our previous 7 race winners are in the top 10 in points. The rest of them, H Alonso is in 14th, Andrew Miller in 17th, Henry Williams in 19th, and Josh Drake, who went to victory lane at Bristol Dirt, our last race, is currently in 24th. But right now, all 7 are inside the top 30 in points and would have spots in the season's playoff system. If we have an 8th different winner here in this race, it's going to make that playoffs grid much more congested. 20 laps of racing, green flags in the air at Daytona. Let's roll. I've driven this road course before. It's a lot of fun, but it's equally challenging down into the sharp left-hander. Daniel Bouchard going to lead them here. We do have cautions on, but we'll see if maybe we can get into a long green flag run here. And if we do, the fuel window for these drivers is somewhere between 7 to 9 laps. So we could see as many as 2 green flag pit stops in this race. A lot of dust being kicked back up there in Turn 2, which to me is one of the toughest corners of this racetrack. And these drivers had to maneuver their way through there double wide. It's tough enough to go through there all by yourself. Let's just really quickly check, because we really don't have lights around the track to indicate if there is a caution or not. Let's check and see, and there's the answer. Pace truck with no lights on, and so therefore we are still green, and so maybe, fingers crossed, we will settle into a green flag run here in this race. So a little bit more of a difference for the crew chiefs, trying to strategize a fuel run at the road course configuration, because there is a difference in length between the road course and the speedway itself. The speedway is 2.5 miles in length. The road course is 3.56 miles. So you got to add a little more than an extra mile to the calculating of fuel consumption. At the same time, though, when you're at Daytona's speedway configuration, you're running full throttle. you're definitely working the throttle and a lot of the brake when you're at the road course configuration. Daniel Bouchard will lead the first lap. Got a good battle brewing here for second. C Cucalon and Andrew Miller, a couple of former winners from this season. Colin Lindsay back there in third. Fourth, Michael Haas, and then in fifth place you've got the 32 of Derek Hamill. As you saw where they crossed the line, 3 of the top 10 former winners this season. So 7 drivers up here in the top 10 looking for their first win of the year, and like we said, 7 different winners this season. If we get an 8th, then at this point, all 8 of our playoff spots would be filled by race winners. And for the 77 of Cucalon, the 23 of Miller up here, a second win would certainly help to solidify them a spot in this season's playoffs. Trying to see if we can find a battle going on here. Right now there's not much going on. There's a bit of congestion back here just inside the top 20. Vince Almariego running in the 18th position, has Alex Tanker behind him, our Atlanta winner. And right here is probably the section where you're going to see any passes, if any, take place on the speedway section. T Handley going to get a run on Fury Gamington. Going to go double wide through the dogleg here. Gamington going to run the corner rather wide. He will keep the spot from Handley though, and Marcus Saatchi tried to get into this battle. Utilization of the draft on the speedway section, allowing drivers to try and make some passes before they get down here to turn 1. Handley going to get to the inside of Gamington again. This is a good battle right here between 3 drivers. And let's see if that inside line can prevail into the left-hander turn 1. Not quite going to get the spot, and Gamington will clear him and still keep the position. Woo. 29 went awfully wide through that corner. Move back up towards the front. It is still Daniel Bouchard out in front. Bouchard with a qualifying feat that got him the pole, and probably was the best thing that could happen to that team at a track where track position is so important. But the thing I'm noticing right now is the race leader is not pulling away from second place. Second place isn't pulling away from third place, which means that with the field so close together, the eventual green flag pit stops, which could happen not only once but twice, could be the deciding factor into who's going to be getting the lead when the pit stops are completed. Cucalon lost a little bit of ground that time to Bouchard. Closed it back up with the utilization of the draft on the speedway section. You see the dust kicked up there is, I don't think very many drivers have been able to make it through the dogleg without getting at least 2 tires off of the racing surface. Cucalon got a nice run there though. Is he going to step out of line, try and take the lead? Not this time, at least. And I think it's too late to make the move down into turn 1. You see, he broke a lot earlier than the 83 did to avoid running him over. But we got some battles starting to brew here at the front. Battle for the lead between Bouchard and Cucalon, and Colin Lindsay is starting to reel in the 23 of Andrew Miller. That would be a battle for third. And we're probably going to see a lot of those battles culminate when they get to the speedway section of the course rather than here through the road course section. We also have a bit of a gap between 9th place Preston Plourd back to 10th place Andrew Rich. So right now the top 9 have kind of separated themselves away from the rest of the field. Well, I guess Andrew Rich is now kind of caught up there, so now 10th back to 11th, there's a bit of a gap. You can see it right there. Let's actually drop back to that so you can actually visibly see it. See, there is Rich running behind Plourd in 10th, and you can see the gap from him back to Charlie Buxton in 11th. So if these drivers can all kind of remain single file when they're on the speedway section, they may continue to increase the gap, and that may ensure the possibility that someone in the top 10 right now could be coming away with the win in this race. I'm actually quite surprised. We've actually completed 3 laps. We're on lap 4 already of this 20-lap race. And so this means to me that this race is not going to be quite as long as I expected for these drivers. Wow, Cucalon's got a nice run. Is he going to be able to make a move here out of turn 4? Andrew Miller right there as well in the 23. Just shows you if you're close enough to the car in front of you through the road course section, you've got a shot at them through the speedway section. And Cucalon's not going to make the move, at least this time. Sebastian Cucalon actually hit a bit of a bump in the road last time out. Was the points leader heading into the Bristol Dirt race and finished out that race in the, where was he? 8th position in points. Actually, that wasn't really a bump in the road. I thought he had a bump in the road because he lost the points lead. The only reason he lost the points lead was because Tony Green, who was right behind him in the standings, finished in 3rd and took the points lead over. Okay, so yeah, the last couple of weeks then, I guess we can revise that, have actually been very kind to Sebastian Cucalon. Of course, his win at Michigan, where he almost threw the win away after the caution, that untimely caution came out. Easton Barber at the time was the race leader, and Cucalon, who had dominated the race, lined up 2nd. And he was actually able to get the inside line to work at Michigan to take the lead back and eventually go on to victory lane. Bouchard is trying to get the 83 car to victory lane for the first time since season 1, when Joshua Hyatt put that truck in victory lane. I believe he did it twice. One time I know was at Dover. That was the first time that the 83 went to victory lane, and I'm trying to remember where the second win was at. Try looking it up for confirmation, but I'm pretty sure he was a 2-time winner, was Hyatt, as the pit stops begin. Now this is going to be interesting. Taking place here on lap 6. So now here's the question. Can they only make it 6 laps on fuel? Is this as far as they can go? Or is this going to be the pit stop that will get them the rest of the way to the checkers? Had a number of drivers that decided to stay out, about 6 of them, including our winner earlier this season at Daytona, Andrew Miller, trying to prove that he can master not only the speedway section, but also the road course section. I've raced with Andrew Miller before. He is a very good road course racer. So not a surprise to be seeing him up in the top 5, and now he inherits the race lead. And this is also important because he's going to get a bonus point for leading a lap. And with the way that things are looking, where we could have more than 8 different race winners this season, it's going to then come down to who's running the highest in the point standings of our former race winners. And out of our 7 previous race winners this season, Miller comes into this race running the 5th highest. Michael Haas there in the 28. Top 5 in the points coming into this race in the 5th position. Trying to get his first win of the season. His brother Matt, former Hershey's Cup Series champion, was a winner last year. But Michael is still looking for his first career win in the Truck Series, and I believe these drivers will probably be coming to pit road this time, and indeed they are. So we'll have to see with staying out what the end result's going to be between the 83 of Bouchard, who came down the race leader the last time, and Andrew Miller, who came down the race leader this time. Other drivers that stayed out there, you see Fury Gamington, Joshua Ciculli, and Alex Tanker rolling the dice as well. Caleb Farrell, Hilary Sanchez, and Gatlin Downey, as well as Zach Winkle, Isaac Nicholls. Also, our Kentucky winner, J.J. Roberts, stayed out. An extra lap, Tyler Deaver, and Jesse Turner. And here comes the 83 car of Daniel Bouchard out of turn 4 to the start-finish line. Sebastian Cucalon lost a spot on pit road. Colin Lindsay is now behind the 83. And now let's see, where's the 23 of Miller? Is he going to come out ahead? Oh, it looks like he might. Miller and Haas, I think, are going to come out 1 and 2. And indeed they are. So staying out that extra lap was certainly beneficial for these two. And now, with them staying out the extra lap as well, if these drivers cannot make it the rest of the scheduled distance without having to come to pit road at least one more time, that means that Andrew Miller and Michael Haas in particular are going to get to stay out an extra lap on that cycle of pit stops. So we saw that they already gained ground with staying out an extra lap on the first cycle, so I think that's just going to benefit them even more. So Miller will inherit the race lead and be in command of the top position after the pit stops here on lap 6 to lap 7. Michael Haas in second place. Daniel Bouchard will drop 2 spots as he was the first truck to pit road. He's now in third. Fourth is Colin Lindsay, and currently in fifth is where you find Sebastian Cucalon. Sixth place is H Alonso. Preston Plourd is in seventh. 8th place, Derek Hamill. 9th would be Wyatt Walker, and Andrew Rich would currently complete the top 10. TJ Handley would be 11th. 12th would be Charlie Buxton. 13th place, Fury Gamington. 14th, Joshua Ciculli. 15th is Alex Tanker. 16th, Caleb Farrell. 17th is Elijah Gordon. 18th, Marcus Saatchi. 19th, Nathan Ormond. And completing the top 20 right now would be H Sanchez. Battle here. This is for 9th place between Wyatt Walker and Andrew Rich. Rich couldn't complete the pass, so he'll have to give way to Walker through turn 1. And Andrew Miller's not getting away. He may be the race leader, but Michael Haas right there with him. And now we're going to have to see how the 83 car does in traffic. Bouchard had the benefit of running the first 6 laps of this race out in front in clean air. He was basically able to determine where his braking zones were and everything. Now he finds himself having to play catch-up. So does he have to do anything differently in hitting his marks, brake a little bit later, drive the corner a little bit harder to try and get up to the back bumper of first Michael Haas for second, and then Andrew Miller for the race lead. Andrew Miller here at Daytona. Back at the beginning of the season, got his first career win in the Coors Light Truck Series, and now trying to get his second, which would basically confirm him a spot in the playoffs, provided he remains in the top 30 in the points. He came into this race 17th in the point stands. He actually finished well last week out at Bristol, so he gained 9 spots in the points. So it's been a good couple of weeks so far from Miller. Kind of on the climb back up in the stands. I believe Miller at one point was as low as 26th in the points, down near that 30th in the standings cut line. But like I was alluding to, if he gets his second career win and second of the season, Andrew Miller will basically, I think, be a locked-in driver in this season's playoffs. I'm trying to remember back, too. I don't think, to my knowledge, no, I don't think that Full Frontal Motorsports had a driver in the playoffs last season. Or yes, they did. They did. They had Nathan Stapleton's 92, but he was the only one. This season looks like they could have as many as 2 entries in the playoffs, as both Miller and Henry Williams have been to victory lane. Miller at Daytona and Williams at Arizona. Now, we saw Sebastian Cucalon go to victory lane back at Michigan. He's having a good run here. But you've got to also be impressed with his teammate in the 21, Colin Lindsay. Now, Lindsay has had a very struggling year. There's no doubt about that. He comes into this race mired down in the point standings dead last. I mean, just to put it in perspective, 41st in the standings is Elijah Gordon, so he's having a very struggling year, but he has 117 total points. Colin Lindsay in 7 starts has only accumulated 91 points, hasn't even yet broken the 100-point mark. So nice to see Colin Lindsay having a good run here, and we know that these drivers are able, or that this team is able to put together race-winning race cars, with Cucalon going to victory lane back at Michigan, so maybe the 21 team can roll the dice and be able to get themselves into victory lane. You know, the interesting thing I was just thinking too is these drivers came to pit road on lap 6 and lap 7. I said that they were going to have to make as many as 2 pit stops. If that is the furthest that these drivers could go on fuel, they're going to have to pit 2 more times before this race is over. Somewhere between laps 12 to 13 and then somewhere between laps 18 to 19, right down in the closing stages of this race. Now that's just based off the fact of thinking that that pit stop they made was as far as they could go, and they absolutely had to come to pit road. They wouldn't have been able to make it another 3.5 miles on what was left in the tank. But maybe, just maybe, my calculations are extremely off, and that was the only pit stop they'll have to make. We're going to have to wait and see. I really don't know. We've never run this track before. It's this track's debut run in all 3 series, and we are devoting an entire race weekend to this track. Michael Haas, well, he was on the back bumper of the 23, and he lost a little bit of ground on the exit out of that corner. Bouchard there in 3rd, Lindsay 4th, Cucalon in 5th, Alonso 6th, there's Preston Plourd. 7th in the point standings, had a great outing last week at Bristol Dirt. Led some laps there. Definitely having a much better year than he did last season. Right now he's got a gap from himself back to 8th place Derek Hamill, so he's able to kind of ride for the moment. If I were the 96, I'd be saving a little bit of fuel. So as Miller comes around, he will complete lap 10. So if the calculations are correct that the furthest these drivers could go was 6 to 7 laps, that means we will see drivers like Daniel Bouchard and company on pit road very soon. I think they may actually be on pit road now. They are. So this is going to be very interesting, because something's telling me this is as far as they can go, 6 laps or so. And if that is indeed the case, then these drivers are going to have to come to pit road at least 1 more time in this race. And here you see the drivers that stayed out the extra lap on the first cycle of pit stops, staying out yet again, including Miller and Michael Haas. Now both these two were able to jump from 3rd and 5th up to 1st and 2nd, with coming to pit road a lap later. Now we're going to have to see if maybe they can increase their gap and gain even more with staying out the extra lap on this round of pit stops, or is Daniel Bouchard and company going to be able to gain some ground? Probably going to see these drivers hitting pit road this time. Going to make their way down through the dog leg, through turns 3 and 4 of the speedway section, and then we'll see if they do hit pit road. I also noticed that not only did Miller and Haas gain some spots, but also a couple of cars further back gained some spots as well. Fury Gamington and J Ciculli jumped up quite a number of spots because of staying out the extra lap. And let's see, yes, they are coming to pit road. Miller came through the entrance to pit road a little wide there. Looked like he almost lost handle on that truck. Keeps it under him though. And at a slow 55 miles per hour, will bring the car to the attention of his pit crew. So too will Michael Haas. Everybody else on pit road here that stayed out that extra lap. And there is Bouchard. Bouchard exiting out of turn number 4 with Colin Lindsay right behind him. And now let's see where these two are going to come out in relation to Andrew Miller and Michael Haas. They now make their way down to turn 1. I think Cucalon lost some more spots on pit road. H Alonso was able to get around him, and so now H I think will cycle around to 5th, as you saw just ahead. Andrew Miller and Michael Haas, they got off pit road ahead of Daniel Bouchard, so they are still in positions 1 and 2. So as we are past the halfway point of this race This probably means we're going to see these drivers back on pit road at least one more time. Probably somewhere in the ballpark range of laps 18 to 19, which is about 2 to 3 laps remaining in the race. We would call that the money stop. But right now, with the way the strategy looks of staying out that extra lap for Andrew Miller and Michael Haas, it looks like it could very well come down between those two drivers. And as soon as I say that, Daniel Bouchard, he caught up to Michael Haas. Is he going to be able to complete the pass here through the dogleg? Yes, he will. Wow, nicely done there by Daniel Bouchard. Moving to second, Colin Lindsay will move to third, and Michael Haas got reeled in. Now H Alonso trying to take the fourth position. Not able to make the move, or at least complete the pass before they got down to turn 1. I think if you're going to make the pass, you have to do it before you get to that corner. 28 car looked awfully loose through that section. That rear end was sliding around, and so they might have made some kind of an air pressure adjustment on his rear tires that are not handling to his liking right now. But this is interesting because look at how the 83 of Bouchard is starting to close in on the 23 of Andrew Miller. So Bouchard's got a fast truck. And we saw before how Bouchard utilized the slipstream, the draft, out of Daytona Speedway Turn 2, down the back straightaway towards the dogleg to be able to make the pass in the dogleg for the second position. We may have a battle for second on our hands here. Bouchard went awfully wide through that corner. Colin Lindsay cut it in deep, and Lindsay might be able to make a move here for second on the 83. Now these two are nose to tail. They'll produce a lot of speed and get up to the back bumper of the 23, and Bouchard, ooh, looked like Daniel wanted to make the move there for the race lead. Not able to do it this time through the bus stop, dog leg, whatever you want to call it. Chicane. Oh, look at this. Top three, nose to tail. Now, if Bouchard makes the move and Lindsay goes with him, he might be able to clear the 23 before they get down to turn 1. He's going to go low. 21 is staying on the top side. Might try and shoot the middle 3 wide. Good gracious. Who's going to outbrake who here through turn 1 is the question. Miller goes wide. Tries to get the run on the exit. Bouchard's still side by side with him. And Bouchard's going to clear for the lead. Nice pass by Daniel Bouchard. All of a sudden realizing he has to make passes to get the top position back. That'll move Miller into the second position, Lindsay back to third. And the guy who started on the pole, Daniel Bouchard, races his way back up to the front. What a feat right there. I mean, you go back to the first round of pit stops, Bouchard was the leader, cycled out in third. Was still in third here when the pit stop cycled after the second round of green flag pit stops and realized, hey, I've got a strong truck. I qualified on the pole. And in 2 of the road course sections, was able to make the pass on Michael Haas for the lead. That was over in the dogleg on the back straightaway, and the pass into turn 1 for the race lead on Andrew Miller. So that 83 truck is strong. The only thing, though, is bear in mind, we're probably going to have at least one more round of pit stops, and Miller is able to go 1 lap longer than Daniel Bouchard is. Now, with that being said, Miller's been able to gain some ground on Bouchard on the last 2 pit stops. He took the lead on the first pit stop, and he gained a little bit of an advantage on the second pit stop. So will that be a factor here? That probably is why the 83 of Bouchard wanted to make the pass. He wants to gap himself as much as he possibly can back to the 23. So that way that'll kind of counter the little bit of track position that the 23 will gain when that third pit stop takes place. But Miller's got bigger problems. Miller not quite as fast as he was in the beginning portion of this race. Is Colin Lindsay now going to make the pass on him? That's for second. Oh, Lindsay into the wall! Into Miller. They both save it, but that's going to lose Miller some spots possibly. Nice save on both those guys' parts, but ooh, that was close. We've gone 14, now on to 15 laps without a caution. Now, we very nearly had our first yellow flag right there. And Miller's going to lose a spot now to Michael Haas. So Miller back to 4th. Lindsay up to 2nd, but he's got a little bit of left side damage after brushing the steel guardrail at the pit road entry. And Daniel Bouchard, the rookie stripes, out in front as his Krispy Kreme Chevy Silverado shows the way. Now remember, for Miller, he was in the 3rd position when the first round of green flag pit stops began, and then he inherited the race lead. Michael Haas right now is ahead of him in the 3rd position now, with Miller back in 4th. Well, actually, now Miller's back in 5th as he just lost a spot to H Alonso. So is it the 28 that could be in the driver's seat here to maybe get this win? It's starting to get very interesting. And it's all going to come down, I do believe, to that green flag pit stops, which will be taking place, well, it's taking place right now. They're going to short pit to make it on fuel. Bouchard's in, Lindsay is in, Alonso is in. This is interesting. We know they can make it about 6 laps, and when they just took the line, it was 5 laps to go. So this is going to be the final pit stop, and everyone looks like they're going to do the short pitting to make sure they're able to make it on fuel. They were just all on pit road about 3-4 laps ago. And there you see the 28 out in front. He was able to pass Andrew Miller. These two have been on the same strategy, both staying out an extra lap on the last 2 rounds of pit stops. So now with Matt Haas ahead of Miller, that puts Haas in the driver's seat to maybe cycle around with the race lead, but only time will tell if that's going to be the case, because Bouchard had a pretty good lead over these guys who were 3rd and 5th before Bouchard and the rest of those other leaders came to pit road. So can Haas and Miller make up enough ground to be able to be ahead of Daniel Bouchard when these pit stops cycle around? They will not have to hit pit road again for the remainder of this race once these drivers who have stayed out hit pit lane. We will be racing it to the checkers after that. If I'm Miller, I want to get up there and pass that 28 car, though. He's trying to close up the gap, but whatever adjustment they made on him on that last pit stop, it apparently did not agree with his race car, and plus the contact between himself and Colin Lindsay in the one of the beginning turns of the course was not any help either. And here comes the 28 and the 23. This will be their final pit stop of the day. Let's actually follow these two. We've been watching where Bouchard cycles around opposed to these two the last 2 rounds of pit stop. Let's actually watch these two, because if these two end up having the same strategy work out for them where they gain track position pitting 1 lap later than everybody else, these two could be in that battle for the win. Right side tires for the 28. He's down and away, just enough fuel to make it to the end. Miller with a little bit of an extended stay there. I think he might have gone with 4. I'm a little concerned about only a 2-tire stop for the 28. Because with a 2-tire stop, at most, the amount of fuel they could have gotten in that truck would have been somewhere around 1.5 cans. Although, bear in mind, they had been to pit road about 3 laps earlier, so maybe they didn't have to completely get the thing full of fuel. They didn't have to completely fill it up. So he might be okay. And I think he might be cycling around as the race leader. Yeah, that pit stop really gained him some track position over Daniel Bouchard. So now the question is, though, is Michael Haas completely full of fuel to be able to make it the remainder of this race? Because that, to me, seems like an awfully quick pit stop. Gonna have to wait and see, but he is gapped a long ways back to Daniel Bouchard. Although we know Bouchard, at least on the last green flag run, had a much stronger truck than Haas did. H Alonso is now in 3rd. Fury Gamington in 4th. He actually beat Andrew Miller off pit road. Miller is now in 5th. Lindsay in 6th. Elijah Gordon now up in 7th. 8th, Ciculli. 9th, Tanker. And right now, Andrew Rich is in the 10th position. So when Michael Haas hits the line, there will be 3 laps to go. Michael Haas comes into this race currently situated in the 5th position in points. Daniel Bouchard 15th in points. If either one of these drivers go to victory lane, they are going to be up in the playoffs standings, at least heading into Watkins Glen. There's no doubt about that. 3 laps to go. The gap back to Bouchard was a little less than 5 seconds. About 4.5 seconds between the 28 and the 83. We'll see if Bouchard's got a strong enough truck to cut that down by at least half here on this lap. He's going to have to at least cut it down by about 2.2 seconds if he's going to have a shot at Michael Haas in the latter sections of the course on the final lap. So basically, when he hits the line, if he is no less than 2.3 seconds behind the 28, then Michael Haas has basically got this race won. Bouchard, it looks like visibly, is closing up the gap between himself and the 28. But then again, it's a road course, so it is so hard to figure out who actually is faster until you end up seeing the lap times. The last time by, obviously because of the pit stop, Michael Haas ran a 2-minute 12-second lap time, and Bouchard was almost close to running close to his fastest lap. He ran a 1:45.985, his fastest lap a 9:73. So we'll compare the lap times when they reach 2 laps to go here, as well as look on the top left and see what the gap is from Haas back to Bouchard. H Alonso, though, Andrew Miller, and Alex Tanker all up in the top 10, so those 3 former winners going to have themselves climb up in the standings a little bit more to keep themselves in playoff contention as Michael Haas hits the line. 2 laps to go. Let's see what the gap is back to Bouchard. 3.7. I don't think he's going to have enough time. Michael Haas ran a 1:46.6, 1:45.740 for Daniel Bouchard, his fastest lap of the race, but I don't know if he's got enough time. He's got to make up a lot more ground than he just did right there. He only gained about 9/10 of a second on that last lap, which means that according to the calculations, he would need to make up the same amount in about 4 laps, and he doesn't have 4 laps. Mentioned Michael Haas trying to get Haas Racing's second entry, their first career win. Matt Haas won here, or not here, but he won in this series last season in the 8 truck. Michael trying to get his first career win. And I think we have to go back to the pass he made on Andrew Miller after the second cycle of green flag pit stops. I think that was the move that put him in position to get this win, because we know that the drivers that stayed out the extra lap on both cycles of pit stops to start off the race ended up gaining tremendous track position. And with the pass on Andrew Miller, that then put Michael Haas as the top car that had been running that strategy. I don't think Bouchard's close enough to be able to get some draft off the 28 right now, as the white flag will be displayed for the Snap-on Toyota Tundra. Let's see what the gap this time is. He cut it down by another 9/10, so steadily by 9/10 closing in, but right now he would need 3 more laps. 1:46.7 the lap time for Michael Haas, and a 1:45.8 this time for Bouchard. About a 1/10 slower than his last lap, but much faster still by almost about a full second over Matt Haas. But again, time is not on his side. He had 14 corners left when he hit the line to be able to run down and evaporate a 2.9 second advantage between himself and Michael Haas. You see back there is Bouchard. Must be such a helpless feeling knowing that You can see the leader, but you just can't get close enough to him. And I think he would need to have been somewhere within the 1 second range to have any shot of maybe picking up a little whiff of draft from the 28 to draft up to him on these straightaway sections. Bouchard ran such a good race, but strategy just kind of seemed to come back and bite him. But strategy's definitely going to work out in the favor of Michael Haas. 5th in the point standings coming into this race. It's been a great year for him, and it looks like he's going to put a crooked letter in the win column here today as well. As out of turn 4 for the final time, trying to make a bid for the Coors Light Truck Series playoffs, your winner at the Daytona Road Course is going to be Michael Haas. First career win for Michael in the Coors Light Truck Series. Michael ran as a rookie last year in this series and also had previous experience driving in the Pizza Hut X Series, and it is his first career win overall on the NNSCRA Sports Channel. And we may be looking at a driver that may be contending in a few weeks for the Coors Light Truck Series chase for the championship. I don't know if the standings are official yet or not. It's a road course, so it may take some of the stragglers a little bit of time to get around and cross the start-finish line. Yeah, we have not yet had the standings be official. Still waiting on the tail end of the field to cross the line. I think that at least the top 20 are official, though, as Michael Haas will take the win. Bouchard gets Rookie of the Race in second, though. H Alonso did a great job moving up a few spots every pit stop. He'll finish on the podium in third. Colin Lindsay brings it home there in fourth. That's, I believe, his best finish of the season so far. And Andrew Miller's going to hang on for 5th place, so pretty good numbers here at Daytona. A win at the Speedway course and a 5th place at the road course portion of this track. So that'll help him continue to gain some spots in the points, as well as the same for Alonso. Joshua Ciculli, I believe, was on that extra lap strategy. That gains him a few spots up in the running order to 6th. Fury Gamington, same for him. He got 7th. Elijah Gordon, great run for him in 8th place. Preston Plourd will bring it home 9th, and Alex Tanker will complete the top 10. So 3 of our former race winners finishing in the top 10 here today, trying to keep themselves up there in the points to get a playoff spot with their win. And Nathan Ormond will finish in the 11th spot with T Handley in 12th. Gatlin Downey 13th, 14th for Caleb Farrell, and teammate Charlie Buxton finishes 15th. Sebastian Cucalon was up in the top 5 at the start of this race, faded back quite a bit there to finish in 16th. H Sanchez in 17th, Isaac Nicholls in 18th. 19th was V Almariego, and J Roberts completed the top 20. You notice Tony Green down there finishing in the 23rd position, had only 2 points in hand between himself and Sebastian Cucalon. I think Cucalon's going to take the points lead over. I don't know by how much, but I think he's going to be the new points leader heading into Watkins Glen in a couple of weeks. You look on down through the remainder of the finishing results. Number of drivers that we didn't talk about here today because they ran most of the day in the rear of the field, probably due to poor qualifying results. You have Michael Haas's brother, Matt Haas, not running well here today. 36th is where he finishes. Henry Williams, former winner of the season, back in 39th, so that's not where he wants to be now that we have 8 different race winners this season now. And then over a minute back were cars like Julio Cesar, Bobby Frazier, and Austin Colano. So I don't know if they encountered some issues during the course of this race or if they just had very poor starting track position. We didn't have a caution come out in any portion of this 20-lap event, so if anything did happen, it would have been just a section caution and not a full course yellow, and we would have documented all that via our NSRA split cam. But that's going to do it here today from Daytona. 8th race, 8 different race winner, which means that now all 8 playoff positions are currently occupied by race winners this season, and we still have 2 more races left to go. In 2 weeks we're at Watkins Glen, and then we determine the playoff field at Hillside Raceway. But Michael Haas now joins the fray of drivers that are bidding for a chance of being in the playoffs with his first career win here at Daytona. If you enjoyed this race, be sure to give it a like, subscribe to become part of the crew today. We have shown you full finish results. These are rookie points and your overall points heading into Watkins Glen in 2 weeks. We finish up this race weekend as Daytona Road Course plays host to the Pizza Hut X Series and Hershey's Cup Series as well. You're not going to want to miss those races. Could be some strategy playing out there as well as we look to see who are going to be the additions for those particular series in bids for a spot in the playoffs in the respective series as well. But till then, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching a production of the NCAA Offline Racing at its best. So long from Daytona.